Today I thought I would bring you a Brussels sprout recipe. You may never have seen it before, but a Brussels sprout stalk you can find at the grocery store these days. This is how they naturally grow. They grow, straight up out of the ground on a big spike or spear. Now you can either roast this whole in the oven by putting olive oil and spices on it and putting it on a tray or a roasting tin, or you can do what I do, which is cut off each little Brussels sprout. They are rather like cabbage. In most recipes you can substitute Brussels sprouts for cabbage. I don't recommend boiling them, which is probably what your grandmother used to do. It's not the best flavor. I saute them in a pan with butter or olive oil and spices like garlic, salt, and pepper. So stay tuned. This Brussels sprout stock came from Trader Joe's. I think it was $3 or $4. What you're going to do is look for any bad leaves or soft sprouts and take those off and discard them. But otherwise you just cut each one off at the bottom, and they're like tiny baby cabbages. And you can take off any outer leaves that are tough. The reason they sell them in a stock these days, besides looking cool, is it keeps them fresher longer. This has actually been sitting in my refrigerator for like a week and is still pretty decent looking. So I will come back once I have cut all these off. Once you've cut off all of the Brussels sprouts, you'll be left with a stalk. This is not particularly good eats. It's not really edible. You could chop it into pieces and make vegetable stock if you wanted. You can compost it in your garden or discard it. You'll also be left with these bits. These are not edible. And these tiny leaves you could eat, but they won't cook at the same time as the rest, so I discard those as well. Brussels sprouts do come in different sizes. This is the small one and this is the large. And you will notice that they will cook at different speeds. So you can either start your large ones sooner or cut them in half, or do the typical X on these but not these to help them cook at the same speed. You peel off any brown or discolored outer leaves, and as long as it is firm, it's still good to eat. You might look at this and think, oh, look at that brown and yellow, I'll just throw the whole thing out. No, you just have to peel off those outer leaves like you would with a head of lettuce or cabbage. And you are left with a perfectly good Brussels sprout. After all my cleaning, this is what I'm left with. I will rinse these to make sure any dirt or grit is removed, and then I will saute them in a pan. You can eat them raw. They taste just like cabbage. The little ones are the best. You can peel the leaves off and put them into salads or soups. At the very end, you can cook it like bok choy in your stir fries if you slice them up or you have the leaves. The X I was talking about, it's pretty simple. You use a sharp knife and just carefully make a little X at the end. Not this end, because that's what holds it together, but the top. So that lets heat in more evenly and your sauces and things can get on the inside of the leaves. So you might ask yourself, well, what do Brussels sprouts taste like if you've never had one? This is a raw one. You can eat them raw if you want in salads or dip them in ranch. I like the baby ones the best. They taste like cabbage. They look like cabbage. And they have a little bit of a broccoli flavor, but they're pretty good. I thought I would show you what the inside of a Brussels sprout looks like. If you cut it lengthwise, straight down the middle. And then you can also cut them in little slices if you want to put them in a stir fry or a salad. But otherwise, that's what they look like. And I have gone ahead and put an X in all of them. The ingredients besides Brussels sprouts that you'll need will be olive oil and butter, or you can choose any fat for sauteing in your pan as you like. Some salt and pepper. If you would like garlic salt or Zatarain's chili powder or something, you can add that. If you're a little bit adventurous, I'm going to make a Sriracha sauce with a touch of honey to balance it out. And it should be pretty good. I've started to warm up some olive oil in a normal frying pan. You can use any fat of your choice. I do like starting out with olive oil because it has a higher burn point than butter. Seasoning. Do black pepper. And a pinch of salt. So as you can see, the edges are starting to caramelize and get a little bit brown. You do want to stir them and keep an eye on them that they don't burn, but you do want a nice toasty brown to add flavor. And once they have caramelized on the outside, you can add a dash of water. And that will sort of steam them a little bit and to help the insides cook. Once the water has started to evaporate away and things have gotten a little softer, you can poke it with a fork to see how tender it is. Still not quite done yet. I need about 2 or 3 more minutes. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my butter. To give it that flavor, but that is optional. You just want to stir that around so it melts and coats all of the Brussels sprouts. So they've been cooking for a few more minutes. I like to add a pinch of sugar, like brown sugar, or a little bit of honey. Now you can cook Brussels sprouts ahead of time because they can be time consuming. So you would cook them until they need just about 5 more minutes. And you can put them in the refrigerator and cover them and then take them out the next day and put them in a pan and heat them up for those 5 minutes till they're heated through. If you're planning on using Brussels sprouts for Thanksgiving, when you're really busy, that would be the best option. So now you have the question, how do you know when it's actually done on the inside? The easiest way is to poke it with a fork or cut it in half, take a bite of it, and see if it's done. Now remember, when you take it off the heat, it will continue to cook in the bowl a little bit, so it's good to have al dente rather than mushy. Most people don't like Brussels sprouts because they have been given them boiled, mushy, flavorless. That's not what we have going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out of the pan.